Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 8 waiver wire pickups. And on our show, we like to go with players that are owned in 40% of ESPN leagues or less. And this week, that's putting a big damper on the waiver wire pickups. And actually, I think no matter what, anywhere percentage-wise, you go 16 under, it's probably ugly. But 40% and under, it's not the biggest week. And again, okay, early on in the year when I was advocating for spending big money to get Elijah Mitchell, this is why. These weeks of just nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing. And here we are. So let's go over some of these, Jeff. I'll start off with one guy I would actually be excited to pick up. There's only, honestly, on this entire list this week, there's one guy I feel like I'm even excited about. It's Rashad Bateman, wide receiver for the Ravens. He's the only one that I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I really do truly want to get this guy. And Bateman has now come back and played for 2 games. He's had 6 targets in each of those games. And you can definitely see him coming on. He's only owned, I believe, in 17% of leagues currently right now, which you need to start picking him up. But 3 catches for 80 yards in this last game, 6 targets in each of those games. You can see that he's a good player, obviously. Yeah, this is the one I'd be most interested in. You're not picking him up to play him, though. That's the one thing that most likely not picking him up to play him. That's the one thing that's disappointing, I guess, about the waiver wire. You don't have this plug and play guy, but this is the one I'm most excited about is Rashad Bateman by far.
Yeah, hands down. Really, there's 2 players that I thought were interesting on in any position, and Bateman was the first one because, and we've talked about it kind of at length at this point, but he was a high draft pick. We think that he's going to slot in pretty well, and his usage, yardage, everything is going in the right direction. And it looks like right now the Ravens could really use another wide receiver. So Craig already said everything, but yeah, I would go after him pretty heavily. You do have to have the roster spot because, like you said, it's very accurate. You don't really want to play him next week, but I do want to have that. If you're looking for a guy that can eventually give you firepower in the near future, he would be the only guy that is in any any way you cut it. He's probably the only name I'd bring up.
Yeah, and you very likely will use him later on in the year. I feel like we're going to get to that point. That's the whole point of picking him up. So Bateman is the player. So who's the other guy in the entire list of waiver wire pickups that you might even be
also, and I will bring him up, but as soon as I saw this too, Kadarius Toney is still only owned in 45% of leagues.
Yeah, so if Kadarius Toney's out there, go pick him up despite the injury. Yeah.
Oh, is that because of bye weeks or something? That's insane.
It could be that plus injury. If Kadarius Toney is out there in your league, go pick. He was dropped in 14% of leagues this past week. So go pick him up. Go pick him up. Kadarius Toney for sure. I don't care if he's out for 4 more weeks. You go pick up Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, the only other guy that was intriguing because of everything that transpired over the week, Gainwell. So Kenneth Gainwell from Philly, because Miles Sanders he went down. We don't know exactly the injury is, how long he's going to be out. And Gainwell has already shown that he can work within that offense, even with Hurts doing his thing. He can catch touchdowns. He would be the primary rusher at this point, you would think. Maybe it would be Boston Scott. We don't really know. But I do think that he would get a larger dose of usage. And right now, having an extra running back or, just a running back for bye weeks or whatever, this guy could be really useful. I'm not saying that he's going to have monster weeks, but he has in standard scoring, he's gone in double digits 3 times and he hasn't been the primary back yet. So I think that there is some value there. I like him.
He would have been my second choice as well for the pickups as Gainwell. He definitely should have some value if Sanders is out. It would be him. It'll probably be him and Boston Scott. So Boston Scott should probably be on people's radars. It's just a deeper league ad, not saying 10-12 team, but probably a little deeper. Boston Scott would start to be a name possibly, but that's about it. I'd rather have Gainwell. Honestly, in 10 to 12 team leagues, it's Bateman, it's Gainwell. There's really not a lot else really this week at all. Some other names. I could throw out Brandon Bolden because of his 6 catches. He had 6 catches, 79 yards. Ramondre Stevenson was a scratch again, a healthy scratch, which was actually surprising. And because of that, it looks like Brandon Bolden is in that James White role in a way. So in PPR, Brandon Bolden's more interesting. You'd have to be very desperate in standard to want to play him. But again, there are some times where you are going to be desperate coming up with injuries and bye weeks. So Brandon Bolden, you could look at him and then decide how much you want to see Brandon Bolden in your starting lineup.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, in PPR maybe or something.
Yeah, PPR more in deeper leagues, and then PPR.
I want to. We can always come back to wide receiver because there's always a few names there if you have any more. But
there is, yeah.
The other one I do want to mention because he had another big game, but this would be in the tight end position actually. And look, CJ Uzomah. Yeah. He has been looking good, but it's been a little sporadic. But the last 3 weeks or so, 3 out of 4, I should say. The first 3 weeks were kind of a scratch. He didn't really do anything. He was out there. He got a few targets, but nothing big. Week 4, he had that huge week, right? 2 touchdowns, 95 yards. And, is he a name? Is he not? We're kind of like, wait and see. No one was really knowing how good Cincinnati was and how much they would actually use him, especially with injuries and everything like that. Immediately after that, he only had 2 catches for 16 yards, and you're like, okay, that's probably normal. Then week 6 at Detroit, 3 for 15, but he caught a touchdown. And then he follows up another game against Baltimore, a good team, 3 for 91 and 2 touchdowns. Tight end is obviously thin. Does this performance change the way you look at using him?
There's a lot of bad tight end plays out there. I wouldn't mind him. I mean, there's a lot of touchdowns. It really is. And that's all you're looking for right now. And next week he plays against the Jets. So I'm on board with it for this next week is playing against the Jets for sure. I think that's a pretty solid play. Actually, I'd go with it if you're
streaming,
desperate. Solid streaming option.
Not just a good play. Yeah, at this point.
So another one that go a little deeper than him at tight end, and it's the same kind of vein of touchdowns, is Mo Alley-Cox, who's had 4 touchdowns the last 4 games. He doesn't get a lot of targets, doesn't get a lot of catches, doesn't get a lot of yards, but he has 4 touchdowns. So depending on how desperate you are and where if you're just trying to luck into a touchdown, maybe it's Mo Alley-Cox, but that's about it there. That's what we got.
It's really rough. Is there any other wide receivers that?
So the only ones that even, not really. It's just AJ Green. If you just need a plug and play, he's at 38%. You still, can plug him in. If you're just if you're like in a keeper league and you're just looking for somebody that you can throw on your bench that maybe still has potential, is Rondale Moore, but you're not playing Rondale Moore anytime soon. That's just like a deeper league. If you just want to, not a deeper league, but 10 to 12 team league where you just want to throw a guy on your bench. If you have a keeper spot, I'm not looking for anything else. Yeah. There's just not a lot there, to be honest. It's relatively weak. Khalif Raymond, we could bring up Khalif Raymond for the Lions. He's had some solid weeks. He had a really good week this past week. He's in, again, this is deeper. All these are kind of Hail Mary plays, but Khalif Raymond has definitely shown some production. So yeah, you could go with him 6 catches in each of the last 2 games. So Khalif Raymond. Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't even want to bring up the other names because
it's just everything.
It's a Hail Mary.
It is 100%. All right. Let's look at quarterbacks and let's look at,
I'm sorry. One more guy I do want to bring up because we kind of threw his name out early in the year, and I'll call myself out. I did, but it was Russell Gage of Atlanta.
Russell Gage,
and he didn't do much in his first 2 weeks, and we're kind of like, oh shoot. I was like, maybe I'm just off on that. They're not going to be that great, but it does feel like they got back on track, and he came back from a 5-game injury, I believe.
Yep,
and then immediately pays dividends. They beat it was Miami. They did, Miami's not that great, but still 4 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, there's really 4 weapons they have on that team between Cordero Patterson, Pitts, and then Ridley. But right now, Gage, if you are looking for another guy that could perhaps kind of jump up there, he would be an interesting name just because I still don't really know how they're going to use him because he's been injured most of the year.
Yep. No, that's a solid name as well. All right. Let's look at let's see if we can find a quarterback streamer, see if we can find a defensive streamer here. All right. I think I have a top option at quarterback streaming this week. Maybe again, there's some risk involved for sure, but I think my top quarterbacks, I'll throw some other names out here after this, but let's see what you think. Daniel Jones, because he's playing against Kansas City, who has just been very poor on defense, but you can see how this could go sideways too, just being Daniel Jones and being the Chiefs. So it's not comfortable, but I think it's probably, if you just look on paper, this should be the streaming option, right? Because of just how bad Kansas City has been.
Yeah, and I don't mind that one. It feels like when he got injured, he has a concussion. Yep. It does feel like it took him a couple of games to get back into it. And then this last game against Carolina, it kind of felt like he was coming back. He wasn't bad, he wasn't good, he was just serviceable. But going against KC, it does feel like that, okay, I'm back. Let's run the same plays. Let's, get back on track kind of deal. So I do like that one, even though Daniel Jones always scares the crap out of me, but he has put up some good games this year.
Yeah, so other guys that are under 40% are just a lot of these players you're not going to play. You're Jameis against the Bucks. You don't want to play Jameis against the Bucks. No. Justin Fields against the 49ers. You're not playing Justin Fields right now.
At all. Don't even.
Exactly. Yeah. Taylor Heineke at Denver is you don't know which Heineke you're going to get, and at Denver doesn't sound good to me. I don't think Denver is great, but I don't think they could be tough on quarterback, especially one that's honestly not. Taylor Heineke is kind of an all over the place guy. So don't love that one, but it's an option if you're desperate. Carson Wentz against Tennessee. Tennessee has been solid, but it's not like their defense is some shutdown defense. Carson Wentz has been a solid player. That could be. Carson Wentz honestly might be like a second best option this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a matchup I like at all.
I don't love it, but I don't.
It's also it just shows you Wentz is gonna be steady. I don't have to worry about him near as much. I'm not expecting him to put up a lot of points. That's my only problem. I think maybe I would go for a more of a risky one, but
Bridgewater playing against Washington. Washington's not been great, but Bridgewater, I don't about that. I trust. Yeah, I don't like it. Roethlisberger, I don't trust Roethlisberger playing at Cleveland. I just don't trust Roethlisberger. There's just nothing about it. Mac Jones at Chargers. Goff versus the Eagles. Garoppolo at the Bears. No, it's not a lot of options there. It's basically Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, and then it's probably like you look for like Bridgewater, Heineke, Roethlisberger, and just like say, oh, I hope one of these works.
Yeah, because it's so thin, I do want to bring him up. He's still owned in over 40%, and we usually talk a little about Tua. He had a big game against Atlanta. Atlanta's not very good. I get that. The last two games have been against bad teams, but he's looked pretty decent. He's about to hit Buffalo, though.
Yeah, I know I'm not doing it.
You just
not against Buffalo. Okay. No.
I only wonder if he looked good enough. You're like, he's going to have to throw. You have to keep up with him.
I thought
maybe it would be worthwhile. You throw another 2 interceptions, but you get 3 touchdowns. I'm kind of with you. So you would go Daniel Jones number 1, Wentz number 2, and then after that, is there another play that maybe even if we go a little bit above? I mean, where are you Sam Darnold is?
No, I'm done.
I would never. But he's owned in 47% of leagues right now, so you do know people are going to start dropping these other quarterbacks like that and going other ways. Kirk Cousins.
Who are the Vikings playing? I don't have them. Dallas. Yeah, that's not that actually that'd be I'd be comfortable with I probably like Cousins over honestly most of these options because I just feel more comfortable with Cousins. So he'd probably be my top option if he's out there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And he's only in 41%.
Yeah, so off a bye, he would be my top option if he's available for sure.
Okay, and then no, that's it. Yeah.
All right. Defenses. Let's see if we got a defense here. I do have one for sure that to me is the top option. It's the Bengals playing against the Jets. They're under 40% owned. It's that by far Bengals against the Jets is the option to play this week. It's not even close. There's nothing else at all there. If you win a little bit above and you got the Niners playing against the Bears, that's another one. Niners are owned though in 55% of leagues, but that would be the next one. But Bengals at the Jets, that's the option because the other games here are Vikings at Cowboys. You don't want you don't want to go against Cowboys. Falcons against Carolina. Carolina's been bad, but do you trust the Falcons defense to play in fantasy? I don't. Not at all.
I mean, not compared.
It might be like the second option in this one.
I was going to say,
because then it's Bears versus the 49ers. I mean, no. Dolphins at Buffalo, absolutely not. Jets at Cincinnati, absolutely not. Titans playing at the Colts. I mean, no, not really. I mean, there's worse options, obviously. That's one if you start to get bad. Chiefs against the Giants.
I don't know. Actually, that one might not be that bad. It
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be too far down my list, but
No,
it still wouldn't be the number one or anything.
Because there's just not a lot of options. So it's probably up there more. Seahawks playing against Jacksonville. Seahawks aren't great at all, but Jacksonville isn't either. There's not a lot of options. Eagles at Detroit. Maybe you go with that. Detroit doesn't really put up big numbers usually. But yeah, it's Bengals at the Jets is the option by far to get this week.
That's a great pickup.
Yep. So there you go. All right. Waiver wire week 8. One of the weakest we've had, I would say, so far this year. But hey, it happens sometimes. But you never know. There's players that are out there this week that we aren't thinking of that will become big waiver wires and pickups next week, maybe.
Yeah.
Just got to get lucky.
Gainwell.
Yep.
Scream Cincinnati's defense.
There you go. All right. Talk to you guys next time.